So greetings from San Diego, California. Thank you for joining again in another live session. I am excited to have good internet for the next 2 weeks. We are babysitting a house that has a cat. His name is Hans, and he's getting along with my cat Negrito, so that's really nice. And yeah, Rebecca, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? I'm wearing a shirt, an ice cream shirt. And this one, vanilla. I like chocolate, coffee, stuff like that. But yeah, it's nice that we went to a thrift store the other day and Samantha and Eva, they picked a bunch of t-shirts and a bunch of colorful, fun shirts, short sleeve shirts. So I'm wearing one of these new collection today. And for those of you, are there anyone who is new here? Because I think this is a different time. I am on California time right now. And I don't know if any of you is new to my lives. So if so, say hi, I'm new here and happy to see you. Yeah, and today I want to talk about a very important topic that I discovered in February 2024. So last year in February. And this is about the wheel of consent or the circle of consent. And back in the day, I did do this graph on my journal, and I kind of draw all the dynamics and draw what the circle of consent or wheel of consent is. And for those of you who are not aware of this, has been created by Dr. Betty Martin. I believe she's in Seattle area, I believe. I'm not sure. But she has a website, okay? So Betty Martin, and then you can see she's very generous, and then she has shared videos about this wheel of consent. She explains everything, and she has a new book now that you can read. And this is really, really important because this wheel of consent is going to add a lot of safety into the way you interact with others. And in my own experience, I have used this wheel of consent, circle of consent, mostly with my romantic partner, Samantha. And it has been very, very powerful, very overwhelming and difficult at times. It helped us uncover a lot of things. And it helped us go deeper into dynamics and into ways of touching each other that before didn't feel safe. And just for you to know, Samantha is around, so I may invite her into the call at some point so that you guys can hear her take on this and you can hear her own experience so that it's not just me talking about it. Lola, thank you. You look great. I'm glad. Yeah, so that's what I would like to talk about today. And I would like to know if any of you are you guys familiar with the wheel of consent? Have you heard of it? I'm just curious. Yes, no, a little. No. Lola says no. Okay. Becca, what is that? Aima? What does that mean? Yes. Peter says not really. Okay. Yeah, Rosie says no. I may have heard you mention it, Rebecca. Okay. So I have never done a live on this, and I don't think I have expanded on what it is. So I feel that it's really nice that we get some time today to talk about it. Okay. In many lives, I always talk about the different dynamics that play out when you are relating to another person. Okay. There is give and receive. There is surrendering. There is taking and giving. There can be dynamics where one person is active, leading, and the other person is following, and it's a surrendering to the experience. But many times what happens is that if it's not clear, if the boundaries are not clear, you may find yourself in a situation that will make you feel very uncomfortable, maybe unsafe. And this is especially true if you have any kind of past trauma. If you have had any experience, especially if you go to the intimate sexual arena and you are being touched physically by a partner, you may discover triggers in your body that you may react to. Sometimes someone touches your neck and maybe you clench like this. That is a trigger that something happened, and there is something, because if not, you will just be relaxed and enjoying the experience. But this is just one example of someone touching you like this and then you clenching like this. That is something for you to explore. And that is something that creates tension in your body physically. So the wheel of consent explains really well what are the different dynamics that can happen when physical touch is involved. And you can also take this to an emotional aspect, okay? So one of the questions that you can ask in this wheel of consent, and there is also a game, it's called the 3-minute game. And that is a game designed for you to be able to explore the wheel of consent with friends, with family members, with partners. So it doesn't have to be, it can be physical touch in a nice way. It can be emotional connection. It can be intimate touch. It can be sexual touch. It can be any arena that you want to explore. So it is not limited to one specific way of relating. But the 3-minute game is designed for it's not romantic, it's not sexual, it's just physical touch. It's like, oh, I would love if you could touch my hair. I love head massages. Okay, I'm willing to touch your head for 3 minutes. Okay, so how would you like me to touch you? Okay, I would like you to touch me this way. And then you set a timer, and then you just receive. One person gives and the other person receives. So this is a very simplistic approach to it, but it's already a lot, because when you are doing this, the person who is expressing what is it that they want, they need to own, okay, I want you to do this. I want to receive this. And sometimes owning that and expressing that, it's very difficult. Sometimes you may not even know what is it that you want or what feels good, and you need to explore it. So that is one way, right? The person who is going to receive, that person needs to own what is it that they want, and they have to be able to express it. And then the other person that is willing to give that to you is going to have an opportunity to set boundaries. So for example, imagine that I'm sitting with my partner, and then I ask her, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? For your pleasure. So this is for her pleasure. Okay? So now she has to think about, okay, what do I want to receive from you that is going to be pleasurable for me? And then she may think, okay, I would like you to grab my hair like this. I would like you to maybe touch my shoulders like this. I would like you to maybe hug me really tight. So she can request whatever she wants, right? And then when she's done, then it's my opportunity to really think about what I have listened, what she has said. And then I can check in with myself. And then I'm going to check in with myself, and I'm going to ask myself, can I give this with an open heart? Is there anything in here that doesn't feel good for me to give? And this is my opportunity to own my boundaries, if there is any. Okay? So I will think and I will say, you know what? I can touch your hair, no problem. I can do that with an open heart. I don't love doing this in your shoulders, but I'm not opposed to doing it. So I can do that with an open heart because this is for you. But you know what? Like maybe hugging you like that way just doesn't feel good for me right now. So maybe I can hug you this way, but not this way. So you can come up with whatever you need. And then once you agree on those, once I agree with her in here, that's when we are going to practice. Okay? So this is just one example, a very simple example of how to put this into action. And I would like to know, are you guys getting this idea? Do you have any questions, any comments? And how does this idea make you feel? I'm curious to know. Is this something that is exciting for you? Is this something that feels like constrained or limiting? I'm just curious to know so far what's coming up for you guys, and if you have any questions. So it's exciting with little resistance. Amazing. Elizabeth, what is that resistance about? if you are willing to expand. Because guys, this is a self-discovery. This is a beautiful way to discover things about yourself and to discover things about the partner that you are practicing with and really get to know each other on a deeper level. And also to find the edges that you may experience throughout this practice and then be able to talk about them, be able to process them, be able to share them, be able to do whatever feels good to you with them. So curious to know about that resistance if you want to expand. Peter says, not sure, open to it. Hi, Elena. Never thought to ask. Lola, yeah, that is so true, right? I never thought to ask. And Becca says, it opens the possibility of change for the better in unblocking some barriers. Amazing. So true, Becca. The new discovering of new. Yeah, discovering something new. So I was reading an article, I can't remember who wrote it, but basically was saying that many times, especially with our romantic partners, we have expectations in our heads of how we would like to be touched, how we want to be loved, what we would like to receive from them. Our partners have the same ideas in their minds. We have never really talked about them openly with details. And then we keep entering these encounters of intimacy that includes sexual touch, intimate touch, emotional connection. And then many times they both are dissatisfied. And there hasn't been communication. And sometimes you don't even know what is it that you like because you didn't have the opportunity to explore. And you know that maybe you like this, but you have never explored 1,000 different opportunities of being touched. And it doesn't have to involve sexual touch. It can be just physical touch. I love when someone does this in my head, or I love when someone breathes in my neck. It makes me feel like, wow. And there is not even touch. It's just the air, feeling the air in my neck. It just makes me like, whoa. So you may have a lot of points in your body that when they are touched, you may feel a lot of things and maybe you are not aware of it. So yeah, it opens the possibility for change. It opens the possibility to discover new things. I figure though, with getting out of comfort zone, we grow. Elizabeth, absolutely. You're talking about comfort zone. So this is a beautiful opportunity to create safety when you are getting out of your comfort zone. When you want to explore something new, but you want to have a little bit of safety around it. And you want to make sure that the person who is exploring that with you is aware of consent, is aware of the limits that you want to set for yourself, is aware that maybe you guys need to stop in the middle of the practice if it feels unsafe, if you feel triggered, or the other person feels triggered. Yeah, very important. We have some trauma in our past, which has left us a little of resistance because of the trauma due to unwanted touching in our past. Elizabeth, I am on the same boat with this. And maybe when Samantha comes in, we can talk about more about that and how the impact of this will of consent and how we are using it. But yeah, absolutely. So true. Especially when there is some trauma and there has been touch that has created a negative impact, we are going to be more resistant to receive touch from that person, knowing that maybe they're going to re-traumatize us again. That is why this practice can be so healing, because it opens the arena for conversation. Ideally, both people are going to enter this container of the wheel of consent with the willingness to listen, with the willingness to be compassionate and respectful, active listening very carefully and really understanding the boundaries, repeating those boundaries. And then ideally, when you guys are practicing, I always recommend to have a safety word or a safety sign of some sort, that if you are practicing something and it doesn't feel good, or you feel anxiety, or it feels overwhelming, or you feel triggered to the point that it's just too much, you can have a sign for pause and you can have a sign to stop. And then you can design what that looks like. For example, if you have a word and it's pineapple. If I say pineapple, that means that we separate, we stop whatever we are doing, and we eye gaze until we feel both safe to keep going, or we need to stop completely. So that is one approach. Maybe pineapple for you means that. Maybe you have a word that means to pause, and maybe someone is touching you in a specific way and you are feeling, you can say pause, and then that person will completely stop. And then you can kind of be in that edge, but knowing that nothing else is happening, right? And then you can really explore what's happening for you. And maybe after you need to stop, and then that's when dialogue can come into place. And that's when you can have that conversation and bring what's coming up for you. And that's when a format of Imago Dialogue that I talk a lot about can really create that structure for you guys to have that conversation, for you guys to share, for you guys to feel seen and validated. And if you are curious about Imago Dialogue, I created a course with my partner, Samantha, and it's available on Insight Timer. And I have shared a couple of tracks also that you can listen to. So, sure, yes, that's great. We are not alone. Yeah, Rebecca says repetitive practicing can bring challenges, but long-term rewards. Yeah, Becca, this is a practice, right? It's a practice that is going to bring something different for each person. Sometimes it's going to be very pleasurable, and you may discover things that you didn't know about yourself, that you didn't know about your partner, and it can become a very nice playground to discover new things, to connect in a different way, to relax, to have fun. It can also be an opening to become aware of something that is there that you didn't know, or something that you notice is constricting you and that you don't really know what's coming up. You don't really know why that is happening, but you are noticing something physical, something somatic in your body is happening. So this can be an opportunity for you to become aware of something new and to maybe start diving deeper into what is this about? Why do I clench when someone touches my neck? Why do I feel so triggered when maybe someone touches my head? I don't know, like it's going to be different for each person. But this can also be very overwhelming, very healing, very draining sometimes, because you may discover things that you don't know. You may discover things that you don't like, and you're having a hard time accepting them. You may feel rejected, like maybe you want to touch your partner in a specific way, and maybe your partner doesn't want to be touched that way, and your partner reacts, and then you take it personally, and then you feel rejected, and that can open the can of worms of he doesn't love me, she doesn't love me, this is not working, and then you can go into all these stories, right? And I will talk about attachment theory and what I am learning about that in another session that I have planned to. But basically, I myself have tendency of anxious attachment sometimes, and sometimes I have avoidant attachment, and sometimes I have secure attachment, right? But sometimes when I feel rejected by my partner because she's not ready to receive that kind of touch, or she feels triggered, I will go to the anxious activating behavior of I'm not good enough, I did it wrong, I suck, she doesn't love me. And then if you don't stop that, that can escalate into really becoming something huge. And being aware of all these things can really help you navigate, learn, and then bring safety and bring deeper communication, even though you are overwhelmed, even though you may feel rejected, even though you may feel touched in a way that you don't like and you feel taken advantage of. Like all these triggers that are going to appear, most likely, especially when you enter the realm of intimacy, sexual touch, and you may have some traumas, your partner may have some traumas, like you are helping each other heal things, see things, but it can be very delicate. That's why sometimes if you don't create a container, if you don't have all these practices, all these views, all these tools, it's going to be very difficult to go there. It's going to be very difficult to stay there. And it's going to be very difficult to hold space for your partner and to hold space for yourself in the middle of that emotional chaos that is happening. I don't know if this makes sense. I think your relationship is so beautiful with Samantha. Elizabeth, yes. And we have a lot of challenges. And this trip, being in the motorhome, spending so much time together, and also past trauma, like there is a lot of things that are happening. And I personally feel a little bit hopeless at times. I'm not going to lie. I sometimes feel that I don't know what to do. I feel sometimes, as I was mentioning, rejected. And it's funny because so many times we have access to so many of these theory tools, but then when it comes to practicing them and putting them into action, sometimes it's just excruciatingly difficult and very painful. And I find myself in that lately a lot. But it's very beautiful that we can do dialogues. It's very beautiful that we have these tools that we are willing to explore. And it's very beautiful to be able to do this with a partner. It is. So let me read. Is your dialogue with Samantha an ongoing thing, or will my partner and I learn and it will not be needed? Feel anxious or rejected a lot? Elizabeth, Samantha and I, we learned this intentional dialogue technique probably 4 years ago, I think it was, 2020 or 2021, I think it was. And we've been doing it since then. And right now we do them pretty much daily because there is so much happening. There is so much coming up. And for example, I was reading the book Attached about attachment theory, and I was discovering new things. And it was painful for me to discover, wow, I have so many anxious behaviors that I deploy when I don't get my needs met with Samantha, right? And then I deploy becoming a victim. I deploy exaggerating. You don't love me. I use a lot of them. So when I was reading the list, it's like, oh my God, that is me. Oh my God, I did this. Oh, I do this all the time. So first of all, becoming aware and accepting, wow, I'm doing these things. It's already painful enough. But then creating something new, right? And then being able to share this with a partner. We're using Imago Dialogue because tension comes a lot. A lot of tension comes. And the deeper you go in this healing aspect and the more cans you open from past traumas and from past experiences, the more stuff is going to come out. And sometimes you just have to hold space for those things. Sometimes it's not only about me and what I have done to her. It's stuff that she has from the past. But sometimes it's very difficult not to take it personally. Sometimes it's very difficult to then receive behaviors from her to me and then don't know how to maneuver them, how to understand them, how to receive them, right? Without taking them personally. So that is the work, that is the practice to be able to be there. So is it a lifelong idea to continue? Yeah, Elizabeth, it's a long life practice. I can tell you that if you are in a relationship that is conscious, it's going to have ups and downs. And the more you trust your partner, the more you are going to be able to open up. The deeper you're gonna be able to go with that partner. And normally we choose partners and they're gonna trigger us the most too, because we're gonna choose partners based on the relationship that we had with our parents, based on our attachment style, based on what is familiar to us, based on the dynamics that we understand from the past. We're going to bring them forward. So we sometimes feel attracted to people, to partners. We think it's love. We think it's attraction, but it's attraction because there is a dynamic that we understand and uplifts us, or there is something that we know how to get involved in. But then when you start becoming conscious and discover all these toxic dynamics that happen, that's when the real work starts. That's when you realize, wow, I am using these behaviors. I am becoming a victim. I am being anxious about this to the extreme, or I am avoidant. I am not willing to sit here and be present with what's happening right now. And I normally avoid it. So when all those things happen, Imago Dialogue for us has been a very powerful tool. And I would say if we didn't have Imago Dialogue, I don't think we could get to the bottom of things. I don't think we will be able to hear each other in the same way, because it will become a fight, and it will become something that we cannot get to the bottom of it, because it won't be safe. That's our experience, okay? Every couple is different, but if you're in a relationship, long-term relationship, repair is going to be necessary. It's an ongoing thing. You both are going to do things that are going to trigger the other person unconsciously many of the times. And then it is your job and their job to be willing to repair, to be willing to sit and listen to each other, to be willing to validate each other's experience, to be able to don't gaslight all the time the other person, to be able to clearly communicate what is it that you need in this moment from that person, and to be able to acknowledge and accept what is it that you bring to the relationship and take full ownership. So all these things can happen very easily in dialogue if you guys both are willing to do it. But many times people are not willing to do it. And that is where the communication never flows enough. And that's when emotionally it feels unsafe to open up, to go deeper, because the other person is not maybe willing to be there, or the other person is taking it too personally, or the other person is not willing to validate your experience. It doesn't matter if your experience is right or wrong. It is what you are feeling now, and it's valid. And maybe you need to go through that so that you can then transmute that, create something different. But if you cannot express what you are feeling, even though it may be wrong later, you may think, why did I feel that way? It wasn't logically, but you needed that in that moment. And sometimes being there is important. Yeah, all relationships have a lot of challenges. I can relate. Absolutely. The motorhome is a great teacher. Ellen, absolutely. It amplifies everything. That is us so much time together all the time. You help me about the me time list to give my partner, and it is known to both. Yeah, Elizabeth, it's very nice to be aware of that, okay? I as well have those needs that show up. The list is the me time list. 16 years in my relationship. Yeah, we've been in our relationship. It's going to be 14 years coming up in September. We are on separate journeys at the time, but some of the same. And that was hard because we have never taken time apart before since working with you on Inside Timer. Yeah, Elizabeth, when you take time apart, sometimes that really helps to see these dynamics. That really helps you be with yourself and really notice, like, wow, like I crave this, or I miss this, or I used to do that because of this. There are cleanses that you can do. You can do a male cleanse, you can do a female cleanse, and you can do a cleanse in the way that you limit physical touch, emotional connection, and you are focusing on yourself. And you can do this with a lot of integrity and with respect. Samantha and I, we are on a cleanse right now of no physical touch. And we've been doing this for, I think, 2 weeks now. And I am discovering a lot of things that I couldn't discover before. And whatever it takes, it's just a matter of being curious. It's a matter of taking these tools and exploring them and practicing, showing up. That is the most important piece. Peter says almost 40 years of partnership. And I relate to that about ongoing repairs. Yeah, repairing is so important and it's so necessary. And conscious relationships, you can have the greatest partner. You're gonna do something that is gonna trigger them, and they're gonna do something that is going to trigger you. And being able to have this capacity to repair is so important. Yeah. So guys, would you like me to bring Samantha to the arena and have her share a little bit about the circle of consent and what's coming up for her about that practice? Is that something that you are interested in? Do you have any other questions also? And again, the Wheel of Consent was created by Betty Martin. If you type on Google Betty, Betty Martin, Martin. You will find her website. Look, right on time.
I know, because we're watching.
Yeah. Oh, you're watching?
Yeah. Eva and I are watching. I told Eva, give me lots of hearts. Mosi, give me the hearts now, okay?
So Eva is watching. Yeah, so I have shared a little bit about the circle of consent. And then, sorry, the chair is very squeaky. Yeah, and then
thanks, Mouse.
She's giving us the hearts, Eva says. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now this is your opportunity, guys, to ask any questions you may have. We can share a little bit about the circle of consent and how we are using it. Mm-hmm. Whirling Rainbow, yeah. So for us, I did learn this circle of consent back in February 2024. So last year in February, I learned it in a workshop with John Weiland that Samantha sent me to in Austin, Texas. And then the Wheel of Consent was created by Betty Martin. So basically, you can find all the information there, as I said. But basically, what we have done is, when it comes especially to physical touch and sexuality and intimate touch, we create a container. So first, I try to create a container, or she tries to create a container. And what does that mean? That means, Betty Martin, Tonya, you got it. So that means that if I'm in charge of creating the container, I will try to create a container with candles. I will try to make the space beautiful, inviting, warm, and then I will bring her in. Sometimes she does that, and then she brings me in. And then we will say, what is the intention for today? And then we want to explore something concrete. So maybe we want to explore, what does it mean? The last time we started, and then we realized that it was very important for us to remove kissing, to remove touch in privates, to remove all the things that are too much, and to explore all the subtle touches, all the subtle dynamics that maybe I don't get to explore as much, or she doesn't get to explore as much. And then that's how we set the arena, like, okay, this is not allowed, this is allowed. And then I would like you to do this to me. And then, for example, if she starts, she will express what is it that she wants, how she wants to be touched, where, and she will be very specific. And then I will repeat it back to her, so to make sure that I understood. And then once she's done, I will have my chance to set boundaries. Okay, that feels good. I can do this with an open heart. That thing, I cannot do this, but I am willing to do this instead. How does that feel? And then once we agree on this, we will put a timer, and we will decide 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever feels good. And then we will go on it. So that's kind of my take. You want to share something?
I'm your guest. Go ahead.
I've been listening to while driving to the carpool line. I think this could be very helpful in my relationship. Thank you for speaking about this. Yeah. Yeah, so my experience, do you schedule this, or does it occur organically now for you all? So the last time she requested it, and she created the container. Sometimes you can schedule it so that it's very clear. Sometimes it may happen organically in the moment. It depends where you are at with your partner. It depends on how much time you have. It depends on the intention, because you can say, listen, I want to practice this. How does it feel if maybe when it feels right in the moment, I can share it, or you can share it, and we can get going. And sometimes, Eva is coming in. And sometimes these containers of time, they don't have to be super long either. Like, you could do a 30 second or a 1 minute circle of consent. So you could do something very short throughout the day. That's also something that I would like to explore in the future. Yeah. So I would like Samantha to share a little bit more about.
I'm waiting for you to ask me something and leave space for me to speak, my love.
Yeah. Do you guys have any specific questions for her? Or if not, she can share.
Thanks, Violet.
Sure, Irene.
No, but what's the question? What would you like to know? What would you like me to share?
I would like you to share, how did you feel about the circle of consent. What is the impact that this wheel of consent has in you and in the way that you interact with me?
I'll just take those two.
Mm-hmm.
How did I feel about the wheel of consent? I was really jealous. So I'm still jealous. It's hard to admit to have jealousy over a workshop experience. So John Wineland was really impactful for our relationship, and I'll attribute his guidance to salvaging our relationship and strengthening our bond by giving us this yoga of communication, Imago Dialogue, understanding the 3
stages,
forms of communication. So tantrums, adulting, and art expression.
Artful complaints.
Yeah. And the wheel of consent, he came back from the John Wineland workshop where he was able to practice with multiple partners. And it really, I'm like, wow, okay, like, I don't know how I want you to touch my body for my pleasure. I know exactly how I want to touch your body for my pleasure. I want to twirl your hair. I want to crack your toes. I want to do all the things that you don't like. That's what I want to do. Like, so it was funny. It was very scary, but Emilio basically, while it was fresh in his mind, sat me down. We did the wheel of consent. He used a diagram. I think Eva, sweetie pie, can you go back to the dining room because the phone echoes? She's the best. I love her. She's very interested in what we talk about.
She witnessed all of our dialogues, and then she's aware of.
We're shifting the lineage here with our daughter by. She goes, "Oh my God, another dialogue," and I'm like, "You don't know how lucky you are to witness mature, respectful individuals in love, in partnership, being able to communicate with their voice at a level that makes you feel safe." That's not screaming. That's not slamming doors. That's not being physical. That's not being mean and cutting you with their words, which was all things that I witnessed growing up. And the wheel of consent, I think, breaks down a lot of barriers. For me, I'm a sexual assault survivor many times over. And had I understood as a sovereign being what consent was when I was 6 years old, oh my God, what a different experience my life would have been. And I wouldn't change it. But I'm just saying the power of consent, the power of knowing, the power of being seen and validated in what makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good is very powerful. And so have we practiced the wheel of consent a lot? I think I can count on one hand how many times we've done it. Sometimes it led to beautiful intimacy, and sometimes it led to pain, trigger, tears, explosion. So it's such an amazing gift. I think it works. It's just really hard to practice.
Yeah, I also mentioned to them that because someone mentioned about cleanse, about limiting physical touch, and I mentioned that we are on a cleanse right now, physical touch. Mm-hmm. And
that I broke multiple times already because I have this deep desire to, if I feel pain of someone, because I'm an empath, I feel people's pain around me and I want to soothe it. I want to share my love. I want to cuddle. I want to do this thing. So I have broken it multiple times in which I had to ask for forgiveness and just own, like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's so horrible of me to touch you when we're in this like agreement of no touching. And am I really helping them? No, I'm being selfish and doing what I think is right. And it didn't feel good to recognize it and to be called out and say, hey, like, we're in this agreement. What are you doing?
Yeah. And this is why I feel the wheel of consent brings a lot of clarity about all the dynamics that happen, right? Sometimes I may want to touch her for her. Sometimes I may want to touch her for my pleasure. Sometimes she will want to give me a hug because she needs a hug. and she feels that she needs to nurture me and it's her need, but maybe I don't need it, but I can receive it. But sometimes I want a hug from her and it's for my own pleasure. And sometimes it's for both of our pleasure. So it really opens your eyes to what's happening here. What dynamic are we in? Who is this for? What is underneath this action? And the cleanse really allows you to see those impulses coming up. And then because you don't get them fulfilled, then you have the opportunity to really reflect and see, wow, I want to do this because it soothes me. Or I want to do this because I feel that she needs that in this moment. But that is my assumption, right? I don't know if it's true. And that's when consent, like if we didn't have this cleanse, I may go there and instead of hugging her, I could say, hey, Samantha, would you like a hug? And same with physical touch. If I want to touch her on a more sexual way, I can ask for consent. I can say, hey, or I can find ways to do it that it's consensual, not me just going and doing it because I want it. So
I personally like Elizabeth, I think you asked if it's scheduled. So dialogues happen whenever they happen, but intimacy, because we have a 6-year-old, because we're in these, like, even when we were in our home in Waterloo, we did schedule intimacy. We say temple night. I want to give you temple night. It's all about you. I've got 60 minutes. I've got 2 hours, and it was a set container. And for me, that would sometimes bring up a lot of anxiety. So just knowing that we're going to be intimate, I would start running story in my head. I would start feeling stuff in my body, but it also brought me a lot of safety and comfort. I know when it's happening. This is feeling good. I'm excited about this. And so, yeah, like I feel like it's a mixed world of sometimes it's spontaneity, but for a lot of the time, it's kind of a planned thing. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes spontaneity doesn't work because it means something different for both of us. So sometimes for me, being spontaneous may feel like, oh, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to rip your clothes off. I'm going to do this. And then for me, it sounds great. And maybe for her, it's like, no, that's not what I need or want at all. Yeah. There was a question from Becca said, how do you guys release your anger?
Yeah. I just wondered if I missed something from...
Yeah. What methods work for you to release anger?
I personally attend 3 different circles, 4 different circles. I had started 2 circles in Waterloo, and then I was still in one in Waterloo, and then I attend Cindy Crow's feminine circle on Wednesdays, which is today. And so I process a lot of emotions, period. Anger, resentment, frustration, joy, all of them. I process a lot of that content in circle when I speak with spirit. Like that's my belief and how I work. And then I have a circle that does a lot of like family star constellation work or body doubling, or if, not role modeling, but...
role modeling can help too. Yeah. Being able to express.
Yeah, but practicing essentially how you would do it differently. And then I do yin yoga. I do it daily, and it really, anger is a tension that lives in my body. I also had Ayurvedic medicine offered to me. So I eat a teaspoon of sprouted mung beans. Just got mung beans going again in the kitchen because it cools my internal fire, my pitta. And a breathing technique, if you have a lot of anger, is to breathe cool breath. So there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can curl your tongue like a hot dog and then breathe in like a straw. And you'll notice the air is very cold coming in, or you can breathe through your teeth and blow out through your nose. So on those inhales, we're always exhaling through the nostrils. And you'll notice you're actually taking heat out of your body through your breath, and then exhaling and breathing in cool air, exhaling heat, breathing in cool air. And it really has made a difference. I have to do that 21 times, 21 breaths in. It's not a lot, but it's hard to practice because I hate that breath. I'd rather do breath of fire or something like that. But that feeds the anger. So those are my yogic solutions.
Somatically speaking, sometimes it's really powerful to move the energy physically speaking. So I have witnessed in my circle of men when I was going live in person, sometimes screaming into a pillow, sometimes having a tennis racket and then having pillows and then just safely banging the racket or the bat into the pillows while you are expressing. Sometimes pushing a wall and screaming at the same time. Sometimes just screaming out loud as hard as you can. And then something that we learned from John Wyland is to have a tantrum with your partner. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit more advanced and your partner needs to be able to hold that space for you. But basically, she may come to me and say, Emilio, I need to express, I want a tantrum. And it's 30 seconds to a minute, so it's not forever. And then I will be grounded, I will be ready. And then when I feel ready, I will say, okay, go for it. And then she may just start expressing.
But the person who's expressing is never directing it at the person witnessing. You're always expressing out or to the sides. So your gaze and your if you're making sound or your body language, it's never towards the person in front of you. It's out and it's expansive because it is very powerful, destructive energy that can impact them even if they say, okay, give it to me. You really don't want to hurt them that way.
And then she's doing that. She's expressing, she's having a tantrum, she's whatever. And then I'm grounded and then I'm looking at her. And then slowly when the time is kind of approaching, I will be slowly approaching her. And then I will just end like holding her and just grounding her. And that's how we learn it. And I feel that option, if you can do it with your partner and your partner is willing, is very powerful because sometimes the charge that she has is related to me. And sometimes me being able to witness that and me being able to don't take it personally and ground that energy can be very powerful.
It's the same as what we're doing with children with when we see someone in distress. We don't say, shh, be quiet. We say, let it out. It's okay. Let it out. Keep letting it out. Stomp your feet. That's okay. Stomp your feet. Let it out. Because we know that it's just the body's natural way of eliminating that tension.
And majority of the times, that expression that happens because of a specific event, it is not about that event. It is something deeper, and that event represents that thing that is way deeper. And by you doing this, you can then go back and say, wow, I felt that trigger with this event because... And then you uncover a dynamic, or maybe you uncover a specific need that is not being met. And then that really helps you for next time to be able to communicate differently, to be able to maybe express it differently. Your partner will be also more aware of that and can help you maybe navigate that more. So it's...
Notice too, if you were impacted with the conditioning of being quieted when you felt strong emotion or being dimmed or being suppressed. Recently, because this has become in my awareness, I noticed that if I would hurt myself, the immediate would be to clench, to hold in. Don't scream, don't be big, don't be loud. That's not allowed. And then after this learning of like, oh no, we're supposed to stomp our feet and move and exhale loud breath. And this, I slammed my finger in a garage door just before we left. The neighbor was across the street outside. Eve and I were going to school, and here I am with my nail stuck in the garage. It like was pinched shut, and I started crying, like really letting it out. And the neighbor ran over. She's like, "I saw. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just have to let this out now because it's so painful." And I really didn't try and hide it. I didn't care if she thought I was crazy because it was so painful. Like I thought I broke my finger, and Eva was witnessing, and I'm like, I'm okay, but this really hurts. So I have to cry. I have to let it out. And it felt so good to not go, okay, I'm okay. And like try and hold it. It was just like, no, loose it, let it out. Yeah.
So Tonya, regarding your question, how to reconnect when starting a game with both feeling very overwhelmed. Sometimes starting from scratch can be very helpful. Sometimes maybe eye gazing, spending time together, accepting what is, talking about what's happening. Sometimes that is the starting point, because going further, maybe it's not the time to maybe experiment with all these things. If you guys are both overwhelmed, So what Samantha was saying before is so important. Like in yoga, any practice that helps you self-regulate, helps you eliminate or avoid, not avoid, like soothe a little bit that overwhelmed feeling that you may have, so that you can enter that state of feeling a little bit more connected with yourself. And then from that place, hopefully start connecting with your partner in small containers of time.
And Tanya, I really recommend seeking the joy of the reconnection. So sometimes it's easier for us to reconnect and remember the love when we're doing something that's not so serious. We're not working on anything right now, but we are swimming in a pool with a wave pool. And that's really fun and joyful for us. We're sitting and we're learning a new game of dice called Quicks, and we're having a lot of fun being kind of competitive with that. Or we're going and trying a painting class, or going to a library and just sitting and reading books, like trying to find, without the pressure, something joyful, going and seeing a comedian, going and having a massage or something together, like doing something, watch a YouTube video about how to give coconut oil massages to your partner. Like that's an inexpensive, gateway. So like taking the pressure off the work and just saying, what is it that you and I both like doing? Like, what could we do together that could just be some fun?
Or maybe you can take the wheel of consent and you can use a very specific thing, like maybe you create a date time, maybe you go out for dinner, and then you ask your partner, how do you want me to love you tonight? What does that mean for you?
It does sound like work, though. That sounds like specifically work.
It's work, yeah. But again, if you are feeling overwhelmed, maybe this is not the time for you to do this kind of work, because as Samantha says, this is a lot of work. You are not just working on yourself. You're working on the relationship. You are confronting dynamics. You are changing the way you do things, and it requires a lot of energy. So I will say that when you are with your partner, especially you've been with your partner for a long time, in our case, it's going to be 14 years this year, the clarity about expectations can be very helpful. For example, in our case, we know when I am with Eva, she knows when she's with Eva. We know when we are doing something together. And sometimes...
Can I go be with Eva? Do
you
feel complete with me being here? Not to interrupt you, but I just want to...
check on her.
Yeah. So thank you. And I think, Elizabeth, you asked me a question about meditation, but maybe you could just WhatsApp me and then we can speak more there. So love you all, Petra Brooke. Thank you, Tanya, Elizabeth, everyone. And thank you, Emilio, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
So what I was saying about this that can be very helpful. Oh, Eva, you want to say hi?
Fast.
Come, Felipe.
Okay, let's go give him hearts.
Yeah, so and I have done live talks about this, like time management wise, creating clear expectations, especially when you are feeling overwhelmed with your partner and you want to reconnect, but you don't want that to be more work, something else to do on your to-do list that is already endless. Maybe try to be very concrete and specific about, we're going to do date night once a week, or we're going to do, today I have a YouTube video I would like both to watch. It's going to be 20 minutes. How does it feel if we do it after dinner and you just lay in bed and I just set and then we do it? Maybe your partner has something to offer you. And then these micro containers of time with an intentional action to do that will create connection. But it's clear when it's over and you don't enter this anxiety about what's going to happen. What do I need to do here? So being very concrete and clear can be helpful to alleviate that pressure that you may be feeling. I don't know if that's helpful for you, but has been very helpful for us. Yeah, nice to meet Eva. Thank you. Thank you for the interesting topic. Lola, thank you so much for showing up. We have less than 5 minutes left. So I don't know if you guys have any questions or you want to share something in the chat. How do you want me to love you? Sounds beautifully healing and connecting. Yeah, Becca, just imagine if you do that with your partner. For those of you who have a partner, you do it with your partner and you say, hey, I would like to try something different. I have learned about this wheel of consent and I have a question that I would like to explore. And maybe you do 2 dates, okay? Or maybe the same date. When I did this exercise, we went out for dinner for 2 hours And then 1 hour was about me and the other hour was about the other person, and you were practicing, right? So you grab your partner and you say, okay, how do you want me to love you for the next hour? And then your partner can say, I would like you to tell me nice things on the ear. I would like you to hold my hand. I would like you to, maybe when you sit at the restaurant, maybe just put my hand on my thigh like this, or maybe put your arm around me, or maybe I would like you to talk about something that inspires you and look at my eyes, whatever that is for you, right? You express that, and then your partner can say yes or no. And then 1 hour mark, you switch, and then you do the opposite. And I guarantee you that you're going to learn something about yourself. You're going to learn something about your partner. You're going to have fun, and hopefully you take it lightly. You don't use this as, oh, you didn't do this right. Hopefully this is just a playground to try and explore. So yeah, just an idea. Okay. Having fun and a sense of humor seems to be the way. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to maintain that attitude, Becca, but if you can remain curious and you can not take it as seriously while still listening, while still trying to respect the boundaries that are set. Like if you are requesting something and your partner is very clear about a boundary, just make sure that you honor that boundary. Don't take that boundary personally. Just say, okay, it makes sense that that's what you need, and I will receive what you can give me with an open heart. And maybe I don't get 100% of what I want, but if I get 80%, that's better than getting nothing or getting 15%, right? Yeah. Plenty of takeaway gifts here. I feel I learn something new about my partner every day, even in 16 years together. Yeah, Elizabeth, absolutely. Every day, especially my experience is especially doing Imago Dialogues and diving deeper into things. Yeah, I always learn something new. I always learn about an experience that she had that I didn't know about. And when I am talking about myself and expressing my needs and my frustrations and my tensions, I normally will learn something more about the reasons why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, what I need from her or what I need from me. And it's always nice to keep learning, keep becoming aware of things. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for showing up today. If you enjoy the content, as always, this is my way, this is my work right now. So feel free to donate if you are able to. I have scheduled some more lives this week and next week. So feel free to join them. One is about attachment theory, and it tie up really nice with this topic. The other one is about internal family systems, and a conversation about the book and how it works and how I am using that too. And yeah, and if you have any specific topic that you feel can be really nice, share it in the chat or share it in the group. Your Thriving Lifestyle. There is a circle here on Inside Timer that you can join, and I will see if I can do a live on that topic. Okay. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate you being here too and sharing. Thank you, Rosie. Beautiful session. Imago has been best method of communication. Thank you to you and Samantha for demonstrating it. You are welcome, Tonya. For those of you who don't know about Imago, for those of you who want to give it an honest try, just explore the course. Samantha and I do a real one, and we guide you through the process. And if you need more support, I am opening a few spots for one-on-one calls. And I do one-on-one calls with couples too. And sometimes we do Imago Dialogue. Sometimes we do a tantrum and what that looks like. Sometimes we talk about the circle of consent, and we design a wheel of consent together, and then they practice alone. And then I will use WhatsApp to keep them accountable and to kind of support them throughout the process. So feel free to reach out if you want more from me, okay? Thank you so much for your donation, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Becca. Yeah, grateful for you sharing, Emilio and Samantha. I will probably miss the next one, sadly. Yeah, Peta, I know that the time changed. Sometimes the time is very difficult. you are on the other side of the world. So yeah, I am recording this one, so hopefully I can put them up and you can listen to them after. Okay, see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for your support, for showing up, and have an amazing rest of your day. Okay, adios.